I grew up with horses in my life from a very young age. My mom's from Central Mexico, and we spent a lot of time there. Mm-hmm. And she used to use horse as a main mode of transportation.
That was Liz Beeson-Evans of Caring Cowgirl. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week on this podcast, you'll hear from therapists, photographers, bartenders, and other San Franciscans, telling stories, sharing personal histories, and trying to put into words what makes this city so special. Welcome to episode 21, part 1. In this podcast, Liz tells us all about growing up with horses being very much a part of her life. She takes us through moving back to San Francisco a few years ago, and some of the changes she's noticed in the city since then. Here's Liz.
So I moved to San Francisco about 5 years ago. My husband and I, fiancé at the time, we were living in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And it was great, and it was cool, and it was exciting, but we missed family, and we missed being close to family. And so we moved back, like I said, about 5 years ago. And
sorry, where were you from before that? You said
yes.
You have family out here?
Family is in Northern California,
okay.
In a really small town called Willows, which is near...
Oh, I know Willows.
You do know Willows?
Yeah.
It's near Chico and Paradise.
Yes.
For people that don't know where Willows is.
Yep.
There's about 5,000 people there on a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Surrounded by rice fields, cornfields, almond orchards, all that good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah. So we missed family, so that's why we came back to the West Coast. And coming back to the West Coast, we had a short stint in Los Angeles, mm-hmm. where I reconnected with my my cousin, who's a farrier. And for those of you who don't know what a farrier is, it's a fancy name for a person who puts horseshoes on horses' feet.
Ah.
Yeah, or blacksmith maybe is what they were called back in the day.
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? Just for my reference later.
Farrier, Ferrier.
Farrier.
Yep.
Okay.
Or it might be an A.
Google will sort it all out later. It's fine.
But yeah, long story short, I reconnected with him, which meant reconnecting with horses. I grew up with horses in my life from a very young age. My mom's from Central Mexico, and we spent a lot of time there. Mm-hmm. And she used to use horse as a main mode of transportation. My mom grew up on a ranch in Central Mexico in Huejuquilla, Jalisco, mm-hmm. which is in the far northern part of Jalisco. And they had a ranch, and they had a farm, and they had animals and pigs and cows and chickens and horses. Wow. They had all of it.
Yeah.
And so when she wanted to go to town, she would get on a horse or a mule or a donkey, whichever one was available, and she would go to town. Literally went to town on a horse to just do normal life stuff. Go to the store, go church, go to meet up with her friends. And even after she had my older brother, she would put him in like one of those blanket backpack things and get on the horse and go to town.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So hearing those stories growing up, it was like, of course, somehow I was going to end up working with horses. Mm-hmm. And then knowing my dad's story, he came from a small town called Alturas, California, which is close to the Oregon border, Oregon-Nevada border. And they had hundreds of sheep. Mm-hmm. And at the time, they sponsored a guy from Spain because he had this person from Spain had a lot of experience with sheep. Mm-hmm. So they sponsored him to come and work on their ranch, and that's where he learned Spanish. Wow. So cut to years later when he met my mom in LA, that's how he was able to woo her. Oh. Porque él hablaba español with the gringo accento. Yes. So I come from a long line of farmers and ranchers. I wasn't working with horses in New York City. But when I came back to California and hung out with my cousin, the farrier, I started working with horses there, and I started looking into what kind of careers, an actual career I could have with horses in my life. And I saw a picture of a little boy in a wheelchair, and he was holding the lead rope, which is basically like the leash mm-hmm. of the horse, right? And the horse is walking ever so sweetly and gently and slowly according to this child's kind of vibe and speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I started ugly crying.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want to do. I always knew that horses had that capacity, but I always was able to walk up to the horse and get on the horse and ride the horse without thinking about somebody having to adapt by, being lower than, or maybe having a speech impediment that made life harder. But with a horse, it didn't make a difference.
Right.
The horse gets you whether you speak English, Spanish, or only have the capability to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
So
is that because they're reading body language, or if
horses are empathetic.
Yeah.
Energy.
Energy.
They feel your vibe, your energy. If you come in and you're super bummed, they kind of pick up on it based on your body language, the way you carry yourself. I like to say horses are experts at nonverbal body language, and humans are not. No. There's a story with my dog. I had a dog for about 14 years, and she passed away. And there's a particular horse that was always very lively, always held his head up high, and when I would go to catch him in the pasture, he was kind of like, hey, catch me if you can, right? Yeah. And even when I caught him, he'd be like swinging his head, and if I, didn't watch out for myself, I could get bumped. The day after Marley died, he read my body language, because as soon as I went to catch him, he came right up to me with his head hanging low, and he let me put the halter and the lead rope on, and he walked nice and slow with his head down the whole time. He let me brush him with his head down, kind of like saying, I feel you, girl, and I'm sorry. So, I think it's amazing that that a massive 1,000-pound animal can pick up on such minute details. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love horses communicating with people that have a hard time communicating in general, whether it's with other humans, whether it's people at work, or with themselves. Sometimes when you put a 1,000-pound empathetic animal that looks like magic, right. It opens up all kinds of communication channels. Because I grew up in Northern California half my childhood, and in Mexico, I was multicultural, multiracial, and my mom was a great storyteller, and I got to see so many beautiful parts of the world that I loved being around people and telling stories like my mother does. So I started modeling and acting. Oh. And I did that from a really young age. I went to Barbizon modeling school. And then eventually I got an agent, and I was doing little jobs here and there. And that's what I did in New York, and I did in LA. And I was doing some in the Bay Area, but by that time I was really into horses. And modeling and acting was super fun, because you would go and somebody would do your hair for you and your makeup for you, and they would even tie your freaking shoes for you. Wow. And I was like, this is great. But at the end of the day, it didn't feel as good or as magical as hanging out with a horse and with other people and seeing how they communicate to the horse.
You'd rediscovered your love of caring for horses, would you say, through your cousin? Okay. Yes. But then you and your fiance at the time, then you decided to come back to San Francisco for the first time.
For the second.
You guys had lived here separately without knowing each other. I picked that up from him. So what was that? What was that? Besides being closer to family, like what went into that decision?
The only way we were able to move back to San Francisco 5 years ago was because Corey got a really good job. And that's the only way we could afford it. LA wasn't our favorite place, but it had cheap rent. And it had a lot of jobs for Corey in his industry and my industry. We could have stayed there and been just as successful. But he got a really good job in working as at the time he was an assistant editor. Yeah. And now he's a producer. So he works in post-production. Okay. And now he's at Apple. Oh. So the fruit company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of San Francisco when you Because you had been gone, you said, for about 5 years?
I'd been gone not quite that long. I'd been gone for a couple years, living in Brooklyn. And when I came back, it had changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 5 years that I've been back, it's changed even more. Even in the last 6 months, the amount of change is happening so rapidly. It's kind of kooky.
Did you like it when you moved back, though?
I was looking forward to coming back because of how I remember San Francisco.
Sure.
Back in 2009 or 10 when I first moved there. There was still a lot of people that just had normal jobs. They could pay a normal amount of rent and pay a normal amount for groceries. And you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and I think that era is kind of like right. It's hard for me to market, but I would say like 2010, 2011 is when things got crazy.
Yeah, that's when it started happening, right?
Yeah, and one of there's evictions for sure, but then losing a lot of businesses, a lot of bars and restaurants and shops and that had been there at least in my time, my whatever you want to call it, my generation or my tenure here.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I market. So 2009 and 8 were kind of like the last times that it was like still that sweet version of what I moved here for.
Yeah.
And it's just changed.
Yeah.
Like you said, just even 6 months.
Just 6 months, yeah.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco is lovely. It feels like a big town or small city, however you want to word it. But culturally speaking, the people don't have that same big town vibe anymore. Living in Potrero Hill was lovely because it's an old neighborhood, and a lot of people that live on Potrero Hill have lived there for decades. And they would still look at you when you were on the same side of the street and say hello.
Good morning. Yeah.
And we're saying it now like it's very rare, but unfortunately it is rare now.
It is.
I like people. I like saying hi to perfect strangers and striking up conversation, even if it isn't about horses.
It's neighborly, right?
It's neighborly. Yeah. So that's changed.
Yeah.
The people have changed. I think it's really, really cool that there is so much innovation and there's so much energy towards that, and that's super cool. But it's also bringing a lot of money with it and giving it to people who've never had that kind of money and who are now raising the rent for everyone else and the cost of living for everyone else. So there's a massive gap between the haves and the have-nots, and the folks in between, like my husband and I, who love the city. But recently, our rent went from $3,300 to $8,500, and it's totally freaking legal, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And we did all we could to fight it, but it was really stressful and expensive. Lawyers are not cheap. I don't know if you know that, but yeah. So anyway, we gave up on the fight, and now we live on the ranch, where I have my mini horse, dwarf mini horse, and mini donkey. So who won?
That was Liz Beeson-Evans. Join us Thursday for part 2, when Liz will talk about starting her nonprofit Caring Cowgirl, which provides therapeutic mini equine visits to folks in the city. Music for the podcast is by Otis McDonald. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on everything we do. Find all 70 episodes on our website, storiedsf.com, and wherever you listen to podcasts. If that happens to be Apple Podcasts and you have a minute to spare, please rate and review the show for us. Send comments or suggestions to storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.